Well, welcome to the Daily Word from the Teaching Ministry of Redeemer Bible Church in Gilbert, Arizona. My name is Tim, and I'm one of the pastors here. Well, in this episode, we are continuing in the Gospel of Mark, beginning in chapter 10, verses 32 through 52. In this next section, Jesus and his apostles were on the move again, and he, for the third time, predicts his death. So let's pick it up. Verse 32. And then they were on the road, going up to Jerusalem, and Jesus was walking ahead of them. And they were amazed, and those who followed were afraid. They were afraid because they realized to some degree the fate of Jesus, what they were walking into. I feel like the disciples could feel the danger in the air, but were still not fully understanding what the future held. And he says, and taking the 12 again, he began to tell them what was to happen to him. See, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered over to the chief priests and scribes, and they will condemn him to death and deliver him over to the Gentiles. And they will mock him and spit on him and flog him and kill him, and after 3 days he will rise. Jesus gets very specific at this point, adding details not previously talked about. It would have been interesting, of course, to be there, to see their faces, to feel the impact of what he had just told them, and see how much they really, truly understood. I wonder, have we become numb to this story? We've heard it a million times. Do we feel the weight of the suffering and the injustice, or is it just Easter? For me, that's a bad plan. I want to live in the reality, the cross every day, and be thankful for the overwhelming grace of God. Let's move to verse 35. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came up to him and said to him, Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you. Let that one sit for a second. And he said to them, what do you want me to do for you? Which is such a graceful answer. And they said to him, grant us to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left, in your glory. I will pause and let that sink in. We heard this story in Matthew 20. We can feel like it's an absurd request, and it is. But how close are we to that prideful move? How do we look at ourselves? Humble and sincere, or entitled and worthy of praise? I know I can veer to the latter when I should be so thankful for a merciful God who saved me despite my dark heart and many times sinful attitudes. We have short memories. But they also showed great commitment to Jesus. You have to respect that and desire to be near him, so I need to give them some grace, as we will see in the next verses. Verse 38, Jesus said to them, you do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism with which I am baptized? And they said to him, we are able. And Jesus said to them, the cup that I drink, you will drink, and with the baptism from which I am baptized, you will be baptized. But to sit at my right hand or at my left is not mine to grant, but is for those from whom it has been prepared. Jesus always being straight up and honest, and let's just say it, very patient with these guys. In verse 41, it says, when the 10 heard it, they began to be indignant at James and John. Well, they stepped out. You wonder if they were in the proximity, how close they were, and I'm always looking for the reaction. I was looking for the made-for-TV movie that's just not going to happen. But because we have the internet, we know that how that would have played out in our world. Would have lit them up on social media. It would not have ended well. But here's a shot across our bow to think the best of people, ask a few questions, find out the motives behind the action. We are a knee-jerk society, and it has gotten us into trouble many, many times. I shudder to think about the overreactions I have had in the face of a patient and understanding Savior. Let's go to verse 42. And Jesus called them to him and said to them, you know that those who are considered rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. But it shall not be so among you, but whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, to give his life as a ransom for many. Well, we have the recurring theme of servanthood and humility and who is first and last. It is a message we need to hear constantly. We have to preach that to ourselves. I have a friend who once told me that if something is said only once in the Bible, that it's not that important. Well, that clearly is not something to live by. But if something is repeated many times, that captures my attention. And we will have the servanthood preach a lot. And we just have to take that to heart. We are called to serve and love as he did. So finally, verse 46. And they came to Jericho, and as he was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a great crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind beggar, the son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside. And when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." And many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he cried out all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." And Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." And they called the blind man, saying to him, Take heart, get up, he is calling you." And throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. I like to see how he sprung up. And Jesus said to him, "What do you want me to do for you?" And the blind man said to him, "Rabbi, let me recover my sight." And Jesus said to him, "Go your way, your faith has made you well." And immediately he recovered his sight and followed him on the way. Well, that's pretty dramatic. Recover would indicate that he had sight at one time. It's an amazing story. And there are many ways to decipher this section. One can talk about miracles. One can talk about the underserved in our society. One can talk about Jesus and his caring heart, or just simple faith. But I like the prayer aspect of it. And we'll conclude with this quote from Charles Spurgeon. He says, "Rest assured that those are the best prayers in all respects, if they can be earnest and sincere, which go most directly to the point. You know there is a way of praying in the closet and praying in the family in which you do not ask for anything. You say a great many good things, introduce much of your own experience, review the doctrines of grace very thoughtfully, but you do not ask for anything in particular. Such prayer is always uninteresting to listen to, and I think it must be rather tedious to those who offer it." Bottom line, pour your heart out to Jesus in a direct and meaningful way, very specific. Doesn't always have to be that specific, but don't hesitate to be honest and intentional. He hears and loves the sound of our voice. Well, I'll see you tomorrow as we talk about the triumphal entry, the cursed fig tree, and cleansing the temple. Be good.